What is the worst/weirdest favor a friend has ever asked you for? Coworker asked me to help him bury a body. Turns out his grandfather was to be buried on their farm, and I was the only guy he knew who can use a backhoe. Even weirder, his grandfather wasn't dead yet, and not only was he walking around and talking, he brought us out iced tea and Diet Coke while we dug his grave. He died like 5 days later. I was friends with a girl through junior high and high school. We called one another best friends, but in truth she was just a person and a worse friend. We drifted apart as you do after we graduated, as I went to college and she made other choices. One day out of the blue she called me and invited me to meet her for lunch to catch up and blah blah. As we are eating lunch, she tells me a fun story about an awesome party she and her new friend group were at, and oh by the way, would I be her alibi for that night because they'd managed to burn down the house they were partying at, which they'd illegally entered in the first place. I refused to get involved and told her, while I wouldn't volunteer any information, I also would not lie to any official that asked me outright about anything to do with that incident. She wasn't happy with me, but no officials ever came to me with questions. He and I had even less to do with one another after that. Oh, and I ate for lunch. Walked in on my boss in the men's room. He pleaded with me to help detach his sack from his zipper. I got him free. So much. But we never spoke of it again. Back in the old days, had a paranoid friend pay me good money to rent out and dupe porn VHS tapes because he didn't want a record of him renting them out. His logic: if he ever became famous, he didn't want a record of him renting out porn tapes. Postscript: he never became famous. Called at 2 AM asking me to reach him on a well-hidden countryside road, told me to bring a shovel and the biggest plastic bag I had. Driving a scooter while holding a shovel isn't easy. Also, I was expecting to help burying a human corpse, so I brought 2 bags big enough for me to fit in. The idiot just drove over a chinchilla. Chinchilla. I still can't figure where did it came from. My best friend is a huge guy. He's 6 feet 9 inches and 250 pounds, but he's incredibly scared of ghosts and believes there's ghosts in his house, even though I've assured him numerous times there are not. Every time he has to go in his basement, he calls me to come to his house. He lives alone, to go into his basement with him while he does whatever he needs to do down there, like getting stuff out of storage, flipping an electrical breaker, etc., even if he only has to go down there for a minute or two. We are in our 20s, and as funny as I think it is, every time he calls me to come with him to his basement, I always show up anyways, because that's what friends are for. You would never think such a huge man would be so deathly scared to go in his basement alone, but I love him to death regardless. Not something a friend asked of me, but something a friend offered to help with. Had a lingering smell of rotten sewage in the house. Was a bit short on money at the time, so I called a buddy who can fix anything to see if he could figure it out. He identifies the issue right away and crawls into my house to find the previous owner used Drano and must have not done a proper flush, so it ate away the main sewer pipe. At least 6 months of piss and food was built up that was probably 4 inches deep. Went to his truck to put on his boiler suit and crawled through my girlfriend's and for 2 hours replacing the rotted pipe. I was down there with him trying to help however I could, but he pretty much did the repair solo. Every time he encountered a thick chunk of poo, he would yell up through the crawl hole that my girlfriend should ease off on the corn. Didn't faze him one bit, and he wouldn't accept any form of payment, even though I insisted I had to repay him somehow. Best friend I've ever had. This isn't the only example I could give about how great of a friend he is, but definitely the wildest. And the man, you the real MVP, if you ever see this. My cousin had locked his keys in his car, and it would cost too much to get someone to open the car. So he asked me to break into his car and steal his keys, because the insurance of getting a window fixed would have been cheaper. Several years ago, a friend asked me to help him move his ex-wife's stuff out of the barracks he was living in. According to him, She had gone missing a few months prior without any notice and just vanished. He would have normally been able to empty her stuff out by himself, but he had a broken ankle and arm from a personal accident, so I and another friend accepted his request for help. While moving her stuff, what we saw, when we opened up the trunk of his car, he was still inside due to his injuries, made us both stop and take pause, reevaluating the missing wife story he told us. Inside the trunk was rope, duct tape, gloves, garbage bags, and 4 1-gallon containers of barbecue sauce. My buddy turned to me and asks playfully, but with a hint of seriousness, "Hey man, did Jacob eat his wife?" We finished packing the car awkwardly. We had to pull him aside later and ask him what the his response? "I just like barbecue sauce." His wife showed up several weeks later. Turns out she ran off with a person she met while playing World of Warcraft. People are weird. My friend had been dating this girl for a few months. He started thinking she was attracted to me. After he said that, I paid closer attention to her behavior when she was around me. It was kinda flirty. Anyway, he asked me to hit on her and see how she responded. So I flirted back here and there. I could tell she really liked it. One day I got all serious and asked her to come over and hang out one day when he was at work. I think I worded it like I really wanted to ask you something lately. Do you want to hang out at my place while friend is at work tomorrow? She eagerly accepted. Of course I didn't meet up with her, but I did report all this back to him. He can't stand drama. He just broke it off with her. Said he didn't see their relationship going anywhere. She tried calling/texting me. I just told her we've been friends a long time and it wouldn't be right. I don't think she has a clue about what actually happened.